Look at Morgan's shirt. I like your shirt, Morgan.
Thanks. And you has a special feature. Lift up my arms.
I know. I like it. That's
It's a
cute.
little toothless.
That's
It's my favorite one.
Oh.
Once I even dug it out of the dirty laundry to wear it.
Out of the mouths of babes.
Of course, we as adults
you have
never
that, I
do
would do
that, do we?
Yes.
I have that.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank
recording.
you for being here this morning. I want to extend a special welcome to our guest, Dr. Geraldine Hayes Nelson, who is president of the Portage County NAACP chapter. Welcome, Dr. Nelson. We're so glad to have you with us.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Should have seen me. I was trying to figure out what to wear so I can impress the young people.
So I thought this morning would be a really good opportunity for everyone to kind of weigh in about what we've been doing. I'd love it if Dr. Nelson would give us a brief overview about the NAACP and the important work we're doing. And I imagine Dr. Nelson will have some questions for our children and youth. I thought it was important to meet and share your ideas about racial justice and what prompted you to pick the NAACP for our special collection in January. So I'd love to hear from some of our children. Turn it over to you, please.
Yes. Well, good morning, everyone. And I'm just excited because this is a great time to be in. It's a time where with the NAACP, we have been working with organizations within the community. And the purpose of the NAACP is to address racism and discrimination. I know that's a big word. What does discrimination mean? Is it Raylan?
It means having like two different groups be one being more important than the other just because of like one of their traits.
Very good. Wow. Yes, and so we fight discrimination. So sometimes when people are trying to maybe buy a home and someone may look at them and say, well, they're not dressed right, so we're not going to sell to them. Or I don't like what they look like. Well, it could be the color of their skin. It could be that they wear glasses. And so people sometimes will not treat those individuals the same. And so we try to, we go out and we get, people can send me an email and tell me that they feel they've been discriminated. Sometimes it's on their job. Sometimes it's related to just walking to their local CVS. And not saying that CVS is one, but just going into the grocery store. And so those types of things happen. And so we get those type of complaints. And typically I'll go out, or I don't go out, I do an investigation. And so we also support groups that are about justice and equality. And so the NAACP has been around for over 100 years. And one of the things that's important here in Portage County is that we also raise scholarship dollars for students. And so if you're a senior, if you go out, there's an NAACP scholarship application that's on our website, and we will be able to share that information in the chat if you know of any seniors. And so we've been doing that. And also Kent State University has a full tuition scholarship, and that's money that the university has set aside for a student who is interested in going off to college. Now, not everybody goes to a 4-year, so it could be for a 2-year. But I think it's important for you to understand that type of work, because for some students and for some people, if they're like the first in their family to go to school, sometimes they're not treated or they don't understand that whole process. And so we have a scholarship for students, African-American, Native American, for Hispanic students. And we also have a scholarship for rural students. So that's our students who live out in the outliers of Portage County. So we service Portage County, but there's over 160 something groups across the United States of NAACP chapters. And the other thing, we also have scholarship, and we try to encourage students. We didn't put it out there, but we also have a scholarship. We work with guidance counselor if a student is LGBTQ. Now, the reason why we don't put it out there on our application, we work directly with the counselors, is that we don't want a student to feel that they're going to be highlighted, or someone's going to say or read or say, oh, well, you got this because you're LGBTQ or because you're African American. So, but we do have a scholarship. And so we do partner, and we do very much believe in rights for our LGBTQ community. So we try to, as much as possible, make the high school guidance counselors aware of that. And then I usually try to work with some groups on campus if I know that they have knowledge of other groups. And so I have a couple of people out in Kent that I work closely with who are now work students, but they are now actually living out in our community. We will have a home. We will be housed at here in Kent at the United Methodist Church on the corner of Horning. So they have volunteered to give us office, and hopefully we'll be doing some programming at your church as well. So we're putting together, working for community garden. And so I just want to tell you some of the local things that the NAACP does. And so we have actually Pastor Renee Verhotsky and myself, we go out and we do workshops. So I just recently did a workshop with Wyndham High School and grades 8 through 12. And then, and it's just, they wanted to have a presentation on Black history. So I was able to do that. And then I was so happy to do a workshop with Kent Interfaith Communities. Those were all the churches. And so that was something nice to be able to do. But for the most part, we tried to get out. We've been very involved as much as possible with Black Lives Matter. And so we have been actually I've been at all the protests that were held in the community. And I know that there were some days there were some young people in front of the police department in downtown Kent. And I think there may have been some people from your church as well. I was there when your church, you did the ringing of the bells. And why did you guys ring bells do you guys remember that? I know your church did that. Iona, why did you guys ring bells?
For the people who died from COVID-19.
Okay, that was for that. And for what else? Raylan?
I think it was 30,000 people had died from coronavirus in the US then. And so we rang the bell 300 times to sort of like honor the people who had died, because our government wasn't doing the job that they needed to be done. They weren't working on getting the vaccines and getting them distributed.
Okay. And did you also know that there were some people who died at the hands of police officers? Did you guys hear anything about that? Coleman, what happened?
So this summer and this year, there was a lot of talk about police brutality against African American people, and our church did I think did ring the bells for victims of police brutality.
Yes, very good. I was at your church for that. And I saw that big bell tower, and there was a family actually that rang the bells. And so we also, with the Black Lives Matter, that's what we were talking about. So those are forms of discrimination. Yes, Raylan.
It was our family that rang the bells.
That was your family that rang those bells?
Yeah.
Oh, That was a lot of work, wasn't it?
Dr. Nelson,
Yes.
I'd also like to share that in August of 2019, we rang the church bells for 4 minutes to honor 400 years of African-American history in our country and to commemorate the arrival of the first Africans from across the ocean. Jamestown,
Wow.
1619. Yeah.
So that's what we call social justice and social activism. And so that's partly what the NAACP is all about, is doing those types of things. And we call it, you could say, education, providing that education and sharing that and making people aware. But we say shedding the light on. So when Breonna Taylor, she was an African-American woman that died at the hands of a police officer, and no one talked about her. They talked about George Floyd. And so we had something so that she would not get lost. And so we wanted to make sure that we do educational programs as well. And so it's really nice. That talks a little bit about what we do and our students as it relates to the NAACP. We were founded by a group of African Americans and Caucasians. And there was someone that's really connected to your church. That was one of our founders of the NAACP. And so you're just going to have to do your research, and someone's going to let me know who that person is. You won't tell me today, you're going to tell your pastor, and we're going to have a special prize for that person who can tell me who from your church was one of the founding members of the NAACP. Now, they're not alive today, so don't look and think it's Reverend Christie or anyone like that, or, you know, so it's someone from that's in your church that helped to start, because they would be over 100 years old too, the NAACP.
Were
Because
they
huh?
were they a Unitarian or a Universalist?
Well, they're closely connected. Christy Anderson, do you know that answer? You want to share with the students who?
Oh, let's let them research and find out. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Uh-oh. There's two hands up. Yes.
We know who it is.
Who is it?
Mary White Ovington.
Wow, you're absolutely correct. Mary White Overton. That is the correct answer. And so that makes a stronger connection for me and for the NAACP to your church, because of the history that we share in founding of the NAACP. And I'm sure she'll be very proud to know that you young people are still carrying on that mission and working with the NAACP. And so there was many things that happened. And so we try to celebrate the history, whether it's Black history, because we're not written in the history book correctly. And so that's part of that education. And people don't many times understand what we are. But hopefully a little later, once I hear some of the things that you're doing, there's an opportunity for you to do some more partnership with the NAACP. So I'm just excited to hear about what it is that you're doing at your church now that you've heard about what we've been doing with the NAACP.
And I have one question before we go on to that part. Wasn't Unitarian Dr. John Haynes Holmes the founder of the NAACP as well?
Oh, you know, how I was finding out this whole history is there were several founding members, and I didn't know that connection as well. Mm-hmm. And that was because we also shared with actually with a movie that we watched together, and members of your church were present for that as well. But so there is a strong connection in the work that you're doing to the NAACP.
And we'd like to strengthen and continue that connection.
So who was it got that answer, Raylan? So I gotta give her something. We'll get something special for you.
So Now, I think, Dr. Nelson, it might be helpful for you to understand some of our programming. And I'd like to ask Colleen to explain our social justice intercession. So, but before we do that, Christy, did you have a question?
I just wanted to brag a little bit more about our youth group and mention that the youth also led 3 protests in front of the church in
Oh,
support of Black Lives Matter, and also led a worship service on anti-racism. And I wanted to mention that the NAACP has youth groups also. So, and it's a racially integrated organization. So if there's interest in a youth group, I know that there's one being considered in Wyndham. So
yes.
just wanted to plant that seed. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. All right, Colleen, would you like to tell us about the intercession, please?
Sure, thank you. So, Dr. Nelson, every January we pause our regular Sunday school programming and spend the entire month diving into social justice work and learning about different aspects of how children can change the world. So, in years past, for instance, last year, our children learned a lot about immigration justice and opted to support an organization to help reunite families who had been separated at the border, at our southern border. Years before that, they did a lot of work towards with Heifer International to help families become sustainable and be able to feed their families. And they raised money for that. And then this year, we put the focus on the Black Lives Matter movement, the civil rights movement, and justice for our African American siblings. And, that was really, they were really passionate about that, with the news this year and all of, the kind of reemergence of awareness around police brutality. And so we felt it was important that we go back through and really put that into perspective, that this, it may seem like a new thing. Our children are young, that this is a phenomenon that is currently happening. And what we tried to do was put that into a more historical perspective, so that they knew that the work has been being done and has needed to be done for a very, very, very long time. That really struck them, and they became very passionate about it. Like Christy said, they created a worship service. The youth created a worship service around anti-oppression and anti-racism, organized Black Lives Matter protests, and are encouraging our congregation to open themselves to what is being proposed as an 8th principle. And I'm not sure, are you familiar with the 8th principle?
No.
Unitarian Universalism is founded on, or has 7 principles at this point that kind of guide us. We don't have a creed, but we have this covenant that we attempt to live into, right? And one that was kind of very glaringly omitted, was not omitted, but just not yet realized, was that we needed to be very specific about our intentions to fight for justice, for racial justice and anti-oppression. And so an 8th principle has been crafted, and congregations are learning about it right now. And our youth are very passionate about the Kent Church adopting that 8th principle. And well, while I'm talking with Christy or Stephen, would you maybe look it up and copy and paste the text into the chat box so that we can let Dr. Nelson see what that 8th principle looks like? Thank you, Stephen. So when we brought all of this to the children this January, and we did this deep dive, they were very, we presented to them. We also raise money, right? So they choose a charity that they want to, or a cause that they want to support in our learning. And it was presented to them that we could go national. Like last year, We chose Races, which is a group of lawyers that gives free help to try to reunite families. That's a bigger national organization. Or did they want to put their money locally? The money that they raised to the people of our community, and they felt very strongly that the money would be better served. People would be better served if we kept it local. So they actually took it one step further. They chose a national organization, but the local chapter, and so they chose the NAACP, and I've just been so darn proud of them in their work, and I'm not quite sure what else to say. I'm wondering if any of the kiddos want to.
I'm wondering if any of them would like to tell us about choosing the NAACP
And why it was important that we choose the NAACP. Does anybody want to share with Dr. Nelson the reasons why it was important we raised money for the local chapter of the NAACP? Oh, and now they're all quiet.
I wasn't actually there when we chose, but I can say that I know since this was a topic we were focusing on, we wanted to help support something involving racial justice. So that's why we chose NAACP, but I don't know the details because I wasn't actually there that day.
Eden?
I also agree with that. I think it was something we were focusing on in that month when we talk about justice a lot, and like we try to think of things we can do. So I think we also did it because it's hard to like do things right now about that kind of stuff, but like this, if we donate money to places that help with that, we can really help.
Awesome.
So
Elaine, I see you unmuting.
Yeah, I also think the importance of picking a local place was that, we specifically are fighting for change, like everywhere we want to see change, but specifically in our community is where we're working. So we'd like to see that money put to good use in our community so that we can start by changing the area around us and then, move to changing the whole country.
Wow.
Michelle?
Michelle. Yeah.
I wanted to say that, I have kids in my class that are 2.5 up to kindergarten, maybe 1 in 1st grade. And usually we aren't part of the Justice January. Usually we're up in the nursery playing and doing our thing. But this year with Zoom, we really focused on participating, and we had lessons and started with the littles and talking about some of the same things that the older kids were, but more on their level so that they can, get a beginning and a solid foundation on how to start, and, really getting them to be part of everything too, because, they really surprised me on what they know and, what they're learning. And I really think that they have, they're really going to be an important part of the future of everything, because, as you guys all graduate and move on, they're going to be coming up and being part of what you guys are doing. So I thought it was important that we start them young and get them moving on the everything too.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Awesome.
Could I share the 8th principle?
Yes,
I'll
please.
do a share screen. Everyone see that? So would someone like to read it?
Evian?
We the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association convent to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that countably
Dismantle.
dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions.
Beautiful.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Evian.
That's impressive. Not too many churches move with the community. Thank you for reading that and sharing.
I really love the language of beloved community, multicultural beloved community, that gives us a vision of what we're going to continue working for and why our partnership with you is so important and so welcome.
Yes, and it's just very nice that's really nice.
So our goal at the end of Justice January, is what we've been calling it, is to not have it simply be over on January 31st. We build up to it throughout the fall when we decide what we're going to study, and the children take a vote on who we will be supporting with our monetary donation, but also what can we do going forward. And the question is offered, what can one little person do to change the world? What can young people do to change the world? And I think that I'm pretty sure that they all learned this year that they have big voices and that they can certainly do a lot. So going forward, our hope is to continue our partnership with the Portage County NAACP to find ways that we can continue the work through our promoting the 8th principle for our congregation, and for continuing to fight for justice for Black lives. And it would be really maybe kind of helpful if you could share ways that we might, that, you know, you need our help, or ways that we can help and be of service.
Well, awesome. Well, there's different ways that you can help and be of service. I know we're going to be partnering with the NAACP with the South End of Kent. And so we'll be meeting on Wednesday, actually, and they're going to be putting in the historic South End is where a little bit of history, where African Americans settled in. It wasn't just African Americans, there was a large Italian population, because back in that time, we have on campus a building entitled Oscar Ritchie Hall, and he was African American first educator at a higher ed institution. Well, he wasn't able to buy a home in Kent, so he rented a home, because that's where all the African Americans, that was the only place. There was discrimination in housing. Also, African American students who came to Kent State could not stay on campus, so they resided in the South End of Kent. And so that is now has been designated as the historic South End. And so we are working and we're putting in a flower bed kind of beautification garden that's going to be planted this summer. And so we're going to need help with getting those plants in the ground, and getting the soil ready and those types of things. And I'm sure you'll be hearing, we're partnering with the Kent Environmentalist
Environmental
Council. Yes, is who we're going to be partnering with, because we're also, of course, the NAACP support environmental issues as well. And so that's one thing. We have an education piece, and so we're doing as I said, the scholarship, but part of that education piece is getting information out about social justice. And so one of the things we have is we've put together is a social justice coloring book. But and I thought, boy, I would like to pull it up and show you some of the pages, but I didn't pull it up, and it's kind of tricky for me. But basically, it's geared towards young kids And we haven't gotten it all the way off the ground. The book's completed. And so that's one of the things we're looking to do, is to get that education out. And so with the social justice coloring book, it starts with the alphabet. A is for anti-racism. B is for Black Lives Matter, and there's a picture. C is for the census, and it explains what the census is and the value. And we have 2 C's. We had to put civil rights in there. And so it's making sure that all people are treated equally. And so that's how the language, it goes all the way through. And X stands for you're extra special. And then at the end, it says there's some puzzle pieces on the book that says that it takes all of us. It's a picture of the world. And it says, you putting these pieces together, it takes all of us to make a whole. And so we are just now, and so we're doing fundraising to get that book printed. We have reached out, just a little short way, what I want to talk about. My son, when he was in school, my kids went to Kent City schools. So in the crayon box, he painted, his dad is Mexican. So he used a light brown crayon. He colored himself brown, he colored his dad brown, and he colored me with the black crayon, because I've always said, then I'm either Black or African American. Well, the school district got very upset, thought that he didn't like his mother because she colored her with the black crayon. So I've been going back and forth. Lo and behold, Crayola crayons have added more color pigmentation to the coloring book, because as Black people, as African American, only crayon that we could use was the black. So we talk about black or the brown. But if your parents were different shades of black or brown, you didn't have a choice. So we're also hoping that we get some crayons from Crayola with the different pigmentation, so that we're not forced to be, one or the other. And so that's one of the things that we're trying to do. Like I said, for the community garden, I don't know, but if they need seeds or plants, we'll probably be doing something with that. But more importantly, to go along with Michelle, no, was it Michelle's class, the little ones? It's so important, because that racism and social justice, we need to start early. My first job was a kindergarten teacher, and I wore a head wrap. I was a student at Kent State, and I wasn't able to keep my job because they told me I couldn't wear my African headgear and teach. And so I left and went to New York City. But so those are just, and that's why this is somewhat, I feel so important that young kids, that we start early with that. I was bussed out, a kid that was part of the busing in the 60s. Well, in the 70s, actually, I was bused to a school by Ohio State University. And so I was teased a lot because of the color of my skin and called a lot of names. But my parents taught me to turn that into like positive. So my parents worked with the NAACP. So we did a lot of marching, and just like some of you guys. And so we want young people to be involved. And so that's where I see where I need you guys, whatever schools you're at, like Eden, we, your parents, we work together on campus fighting some of the same things. So adults do it. We started some programs, and we're doing some things that, we did some things at the university. We started, I got some nasty email when I opened our LGBTQ. I worked with Chris. Now, what is Chris' last name? He's into politics now, but Chris was one of my students. He got he has a partner, but I can't know the partner's last name. But anyway, he's out in the community and very active in politics. But watching how people react and treat it. And so if we as one in our own little space, like Coleman in your space, Raylan in your space, Maya in your space, if you could help, because when I was a kid coming up, I walk into a room, I always have to think, where am I going to sit? Who's going to welcome me? And so just one-on-one in your schools, you know, in the cafeteria, I never knew who I could sit beside because I was the only person of color. And that has followed me from being an associate dean. It was all men and I was the only female. And so you'll hear me use the term Dr. Nelson because I always keep that because I was the first one in my family to graduate from college. And so how you can help me, the NAACP, is when you see that person that's out there, zero tolerance for bullying, zero tolerance for treating people. So that's really how you can help me, is those one-on-one interactions that you can do to make the world a better place. But also when we have some of our activities, and if you're having things at the church and you want the NAACP to come out and support, those are things that I would love to do with you. And there's just so many letter writing campaigns that you can do, that you can help us with. It's always good. We have an education platform, in particular for students with special needs. A lot of African-American students are inappropriately identified, but also for our students with special needs. My daughter-in-law works in that field and is very active. So I'm very active in trying to help, in particular, students with special needs within our school systems. So those are things that I think for young people that we need your help in. So, and then pushing forth the beautiful 8th principle, getting that information out and helping even some of our adults to understand, you know, you should be, you are to me a glaring example of what that 8th principle is all about. So I just want to encourage you to keep up the good work that you're doing. But you know, it's going to be heavy work. It's not going to be easy, because sometimes when you stand up for what is right, not everybody's going to like be your best bud, right? So when you step out there and you try to help, you know, look for adults around you that can help and assist and guide you as well. So I don't want you to, you know, do anything dangerous, but make sure that, you know, you have that support system. You have a strong support system from your church. I've been in you guys have supported me. We also have a MLK event, Martin Luther King, for Dr. Martin Luther King Day celebration. So those are some things that, you know, we're always looking for social justice. We have things that students can do, like poetry slams, you know, writing letters to the editor. If you see something that needs to be changed in your community, you have a voice. Use those little voices. Look at what you guys are going to impact Portage County in a big way. And you guys have begun to impact Portage County. So young lady, you know, I want to see all of you, you know, think about what you can do in your community to make a difference. And that beautiful building, when that building comes up, there's things, programming, things that we can have, like I'm a member of the church, but yeah, there's things we can have in our building because I feel I'm a part of the beloved community. And so I had a choir 1 year for the Dr. Martin Luther King celebration. Many of the members came from your church, and that was, I don't know what year it's back, but there's always been a connection with your church. But you guys are the ones that's made it much closer, much tighter. So you've already set forth, and you're already going to be writing the history and making a mark in your community as well as in your church. So I really, really want to commend you. And I think there were some questions in the chat. Yeah. Were there
Yes.
Christina
questions?
Chavez.
Let me just silence that.
Yes, so Kevin asks, where can we learn more about the coloring book project and help fund it?
I was hoping you would ask that. I would actually like to say that the coloring project, I can get more information about it because I would had recommended that I wanted to have the name of your youth group as being, I had some wording as being that the publishing of this coloring book was made possible by funding from, and then I would get the official title of the group, but from the youth group of your church. And that would go into every coloring book that we would make in our first printing of the social justice coloring book. But
Wow.
so, and that will be going out to, you know, everyone across Portage County, but your name would be the first name that would be listed as sponsoring the social justice coloring book for the NAACP. What do you guys think?
Wow. I'm so proud of all of you guys. Wow. That is really great. Thank you.
And
Dr.
so, yeah, it
Nelson.
would be, and Christy, did you have any chance? I wonder if I could pull up that. Do you, you don't, are you able to pull up that, the coloring book? It was,
My
okay.
email's on a different computer. I'm using my tablet.
Okay,
Here.
that's okay, that's great.
Now, I'll be talking with Reverend Stephen after this meeting
Okay,
about the cost.
yeah. Yeah, so we would like to actually put, yes, we would like to put your youth group as being the group that, you know, helped to sponsor the production, the first initial printing of the, it's called the Social Justice Coloring Book, and it's for children. And we're hoping to get some of the school districts to use it as well, using the alphabet. Of course, you guys would get to see it first because you would be responsible for printing, but I could pull that up, and I would like to share, that with you. And I was so excited about being here. I probably could have pulled it up, but I'm not sure.
If I can get a link to it, or you could send it to me, and then I can share it with all of the children and youth in Sunday school on Sunday
Okay.
to show them.
Okay. Will do, because it's getting ready to go into its final production.
Wonderful, thank you.
And you just came right at the time when we were just finishing and trying to think about how we're going to do fundraising for the coloring book so that we can get it out. And so, and I think we just met Thursday. We were talking about trying to do fundraising. Yeah, we were just meet Thursday, and we were going to contact different groups and try to see if we can get the money to push that out.
So how much money is needed, Dr. Nelson?
I think it's going to be, if we can, about 900 or close to 1,000. I'm not sure the thing that we're supposed to be tax exempt, but I think it's close to 900, but it depends on how many books. I think that's for the first initial printing of 500. And so that's what we were looking at. That's what we're hoping for.
Okay. All right. Well, speaking of fundraising, I'm sure our children and youth are eager to present you with the funds that we've raised together. So would it be a good time to do that? Are there checks out there? There they are.
Put them close to your camera.
Yeah.
Oh!
On behalf of the children and youth of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Kent, we want to give to you the $1,200 that they raised with their community.
Oh, let me take a picture. Hold up. I can't get my phone going here. I'm too excited. That is so awesome. I have to take a picture. Thank you. Oh, look at our checks. Iona, let me see your check again. I see. Oh, okay, let me see. I couldn't get close. Oh, somebody signed that check. Oh, you guys signed the check? Cool.
The real one's on the way, and maybe there by now. But these are great.
Thank you guys so much. So now I wish if I had known that, I didn't know what you guys, he told me about a surprise, but I wish I would have been prepared with the coloring book because I wasn't. But I will send that out. And this is something near and dear to my heart because I am elementary, that was my first degree. And then it's just so perfect that you guys, your name's going to be in that book, coloring book, the first printing of the social justice coloring book for young people, which is, that's just awesome. It's all God ordained.
You could sign us up for some copies too. We'll be purchasing for our children and youth.
Yes.
How awesome. And that's what we're hoping, to get these out. So I will definitely get that to you so you guys can share that on Sunday. So somebody will send me, well, I can work on getting that. And yes, there is adults do coloring too. It's good for us. So we have a couple of pictures that are a little more difficult for the adults. So we did make one that was a little more detailed. So throughout the book, because that's a good relaxation and I still like to color. So, but like I said, yeah, you guys are, you're just, I'm just so excited. I'm never usually speechless. I've been speaking in front of lots of people and here this little youth group got me all tongue twisted.
Well, we certainly appreciate you giving your time today to come chat with our children and youth. This has been such a special gift that you've given us. Thank you for being here today. I'll toss it back to Stephen for a wrap up.
Are there any final questions anyone would like to ask Dr. Nelson? Anybody have anything they want to know? Christy, please.
Dr. Nelson, I just wanted to say that I can forward the coloring book to Colleen. Colleen is our wonderful director of our religious education and is doing a terrific job. And so you're so busy, I can save you that effort by forwarding that for you.
Thank you, Christy. I just, want to say you guys have really made my day today. And I thank you so much.
You made ours too by being with us. Thank you so much. And thank you to our youth and children for their commitment to social justice and showing us the way toward this beloved community we all dream about and are committed to creating together. So
I just can't believe you guys. Now, you little kids just messed up my makeup and everything. But thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it on behalf of the kids here in Portage County. So thank you guys so much.
And thank you for your leadership, Dr. Nelson, and we look forward to our future partnership and everything we can do together to make a difference. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are so, I'm just speechless. So, but thank you so much. Ryan, Maya, Coleman, Iona, Elena, not my eyes, I can't see because my makeup's messing up. And Eden, so thank you guys so much. I hope I didn't leave any of you out. Ryan, you guys are together. Ray Lynn and Evie? Evie. Oh, all right. Well, thank you guys so much. And continue in the fight and in the struggle. So now you're freedom fighters. I'm going to officially make you all freedom fighters, okay? So remember that. You're fighting for freedom for all people. And thank you so much.
Amen.
Amen.
All right. So
Thank
with
you,
that,
everyone.
we'll wrap up. Thank you. You're most welcome, Dr. Nelson, but mostly we want to thank you for the important work that you are doing. And we are just privileged and proud to be a part of a small part of that with you, and look forward to our future partnership together.
Yes.
So with that, everyone, we're going to go ahead and close out. I hope that you have a wonderful Saturday. Get out there in the sun. The sun is shining. Put some sunshine on your face, and we'll get back to our justice work the next time we see each other.
Okay, freedom fighters.
Freedom
Okay.
fighters. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Here.
That was fantastic.
That was wonderful. Yeah.
All right.
I'm so glad you recorded that, Colleen. I think that's we really need to make time and space